If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine, and maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them, from disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is your before and after story. Prepare for an incredible career in nursing. At Southeastern College, experience expert hands-on training. Learn real-world skills in our professional lab and simulated settings. And train for opportunities as a practical nurse, registered nurse, or career advancement with our RN to BSN program. At Southeastern College, your future is bright. Visit sec.edu to get started.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
This is FunBelt Commissioner Keith Gill, and I listen to the FunBelt podcast.
This is the FunBelt podcast, part of the Believe Network.
Folks, to Dusty Thibodeau of Warhawk Report, Jeremy Harper of Howlraiser, and Shane Metlin of the Daily News Record.
I think it's potentially a very good week for the Sunbelts.
But I'm just kind of going off on a random rant. It's just frustrating.
Shane, it is always a good week for the Sunbelt. You know that. I know that. Shane Metlin is with me tonight. I'm Jeremy Harper. Shane, I'm a little confused. Is Tibbs coming on or not?
I don't know.
Okay.
We'll see if he joins us.
All right, because his quote was, "I'm late. I'm just coming home. Go on." I don't know if that meant I'm popping on later. We'll be prepared if he does.
We'll see.
I really hate for him to miss this show, Shane, because we've got some really special guests tonight. In the green room tonight, Coach Mike Krzyzewski, Coach K.
Krzyzewski?
Yeah, he's going to talk some hoops with us, which is really cool. And talking spring football with us is Nick Saban. So we got Nick Saban and Coach K in the green room. Shane, can you peek in there and make sure they're still in there?
I see two people in the green room right now.
All right. Is there enough Cheez-Its? Did we put enough Fanta in there? Is the temperature all right? I mean, we want to make sure these guys are comfortable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Looks like it's time to take care of our sponsors. So let's do this thing. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for betting on all the madness. Even if your bracket is busted like mine, BetOnline has more ways to stay in the action with a free Sweet 16 bracket and live betting on every remaining tournament game. With the largest selection of odds on everything from college basketball to MLB, NHL, and MMA, BetOnline continues to be your number one sports betting source. It's mine. Hope that pushes you over the edge. From every Cinderella story to every hat trick, BetOnline has you covered with odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline, the game starts here. Before we get to Coach K and before we get to Coach Saban, we got a little Sunbelt business to attend to. Now, Tibbs isn't here, but the Warhawks have hired a new coach. Turns out it was a coach that was already on the staff, Phil Cunningham. Shane, what do you think of that hire?
I think maybe it's a little disappointing. I mean, it may end up working out great. I mean, that's the thing. You never know.
Sure.
But, usually if you're going to get excited about a hire from within, it's usually when you've already been winning a lot and you want to keep that going. And that's
right.
Obviously not the case with ULM.
No.
I don't think it was necessarily their first choice.
Probably not.
But it doesn't mean that, it won't work out. Sometimes the guy who's seen why it hasn't worked is able to, but maybe hasn't been in position to make all the changes he might want to. Maybe getting the keys to turn it around. Maybe it ends up working out. Who knows?
Yeah, so maybe Cunningham was like Iago to coach Richard. just constantly whispering bad advice in his ear so he gets fired or let go or released or whatever he was, and then he assumes charge. That's a Shakespearean reference for you, Shane. That's benefits of a classical education from Arkansas State.
Yeah, I picked up on it. I'm not.
I know you're a man of letters,
but I did pick up on that one.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. So Cunningham, he used to be the coach for Troy. Didn't have a great record there. Comes into ULM. He hit the ground running, Shane. I mean, immediately he started throwing out offers left and right. I don't know how many people have accepted yet, but we'll see how that is. Also, a new coach in Woods, Arkansas State. Went back to the old Alabama coaching tree, the old Nate Oates coaching tree again. Picked up a guy named Ryan Pannone. That's Pannone, not Pannoni. And he has a checkered path to the head coaching job, Shane. Have you seen this path?
Yeah, the saying checkered path, that makes it sound like not great. I don't think there's anything wrong with this path.
No, checkered makes it sound like but no, it's
not necessarily a direct line to a.
Maybe that's a better way to describe it. Yes. So he's coached in Europe a few places. He's coached in Israel. He had a little assistant time with the New Orleans Pelicans. He spent the last couple of years under Nate Oates running the offense. And he's kind of the opposite of Hodgson. Yeah, Hodgson was known for his dynamic recruiting, not necessarily for his X's and O's. Pannone, known for his X's and O's, and not necessarily for his recruiting. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out at Arkansas State. Hard to get people to Arkansas State. Does Pannone have enough juice to get some guys in there? Is his coaching acumen enough? I guess we'll see. How do you rate the hire, Shane? I'm too close to this. Maybe you can give me an honest assessment.
I really don't know. I mean, because your first thought is, another Nate Oates assistant. They're going to do the same thing. But then the more you hear, like you just said, like he's not Brian Hodgson. He's a different kind of coach with a different kind of background. And we'll see. I mean, maybe they think there's going to be two different philosophies. We've seen teams now, not in the Sun Belt, but a team like Fordham, a team like Radford have gone out and hired guys who basically aren't coaches, but they've been like player personnel people in the NBA. Okay. So maybe that's the way to go in these days. Or maybe it is you hire an X and O guy and it doesn't necessarily matter if you're getting the top transfers, but maybe if you keep a few guys around and teach them your system, you can win. I don't know. We'll see. We're all trying to figure out what's going to go on with college basketball right now,
which is a mess. Yeah, we'll get. You know what? I'd really like to get Coach K's perspective. Is he still in the green room, Shane?
As far as I can see, there's still two people down there.
Still two people. One of them's Coach K, right? I know it's dark. I know we got to change those light bulbs. Yeah. I keep saying
that we actually do have a digital green room on this platform. It's pretty cool.
I'm creating an illusion for the listener that we have a physical green room that's a little dim. All right. It's got Cheez-Its, it's got Fanta, it's got Coach K, and it's got Nick Saban waiting. But we're not ready for Coach Saban. We're not ready for Coach K. They're going to have to wait because we got some other business to discuss. For instance, I believe the Troy women are still alive in the NIT. Yeah. Can you confirm that, Shane?
That's cool. I've personally been just about ready to move on from basketball season, but I guess I can't because into Rigby and the Trojans are keeping the Sun Belt alive.
Yeah, and it's kind of like it just sort of seeps or bubbles to the surface of social media. The women's NIT and you get Sun Belt alert that the Troy is still around, still alive. Thank you, Troy, for keeping the Sun Belt brand going. We need all the the exposure that we can possibly get. Because let's Shane, I'm really interested to know your opinion on this. Because it's been an opinion that's been bandied around social media for a little bit now. 4 number 1 seeds are in the Final Four, the NCAA Final Four. I'm not going to mention who they are, but 2 of them are the SEC. Both of the SEC teams really heavy with transfers from mid-majors. Is this a sign that wealthier teams are just simply purchasing great players from mid-major teams, and not necessarily mid-majors, but maybe from other teams, and just building a team that way, and it's kind of shutting out the Cinderella?
I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see.
Yeah.
But I mean, to a certain degree, I don't think anybody necessarily a few years ago thought, well, look, Auburn got Janai Broom and Denver Jones.
Yeah.
That's going to push them to the top of the, they're national championship contenders now because they got those 2 guys. Ended up being great talent evaluation.
Sure.
By Auburn. So, I don't know if they necessarily are just buying the best teams. We'll see. I think talent evaluation at all levels is going to be so huge because, and you may only keep those guys if you're a mid-major for a couple of years. But I mean, if you get them in, you do have a chance even if you only have them for a couple of years. I mean, so we'll see. Hopefully this year is not a harbinger of things to come that you're never going to see a mid-major get past the second round, but I'm not going to overreact too much to 1 year, but
yeah, I'm of 2 minds about it too, Shane. I do immediately want to jump to this idea that the Cinderella's over. NIL and the portal have ruined everything. We're entering this phase where it's just going to be the Big Ten and the SEC and maybe a couple other programs like Duke and Houston gets to play in it, and that's about it. But you know what? I felt this way before. I think in 2008 was the last time all four teams that got in were number 1s. Did anybody panic? Did we all go, "Oh, this is the end of the Cinderella"? I don't know. I don't remember 2008. There was a lot of cocaine in those days.
We're not too far removed from FAU and San Diego State making the Final Four either. So I mean, obviously things are changing and it's getting tougher for mid majors. But I still think there's probably going to be at least a handful of really good mid majors most years. McNeese State didn't make it a long run, but they were capable of doing that this year. I don't know. I don't want to overreact to it too much, but especially because I think in basketball in particular, there are a whole lot of really good players in the country. There's a lot of really good coaches, more than there's, really a quarterback who can carry you to a national championship. Like there's only so many of those guys. There's a lot of guys you can put together a good basketball team with, and they can't all play at the high major level.
Yeah, I think you see teams like Grand Canyon and Florida Gulf Coast that grip the imagination of the public because they just get 5 guys on that team that have played together forever. They know the game. Some of them have receding hairlines, but yeah, they've been out there for a long time, and maybe we'll see that again. I don't know. It seems to me like Houston. I was looking at that roster. It seems like it's mostly comprised of like freshmen. It's just kind of wild how different the teams have been comprised this year. I guess I'm going to watch, Shane. I don't know. But you know what? I would like to hear Coach K's. Should we bring Coach K on now?
I don't know. Should we finish our Sunbelt talk and then?
Yeah. Let's save him for last. I know we have a limited time. We don't want a long show, and we certainly don't want to put Nick Saban on the back burner. He's got to do a lot of Aflac commercials. So we'll go ahead and we'll just press on with the Sunbelt. Shane, 78 players are in the portal right now. Only 2 that I can see have found new homes, and those are 2 guys from Arkansas State that immediately followed Coach Hodgson to South Florida. I'm sure maybe there's some offers waiting in the wings. People already know where they're going. An interesting addition to the portal was Mark Freeman, the newcomer of the year for James Madison, and you made an interesting observation about that. Can you care to explain more?
Well, Mark Freeman was a sixth-year player this year who's already taken his COVID year and his medical red shirt and has played 5 years. And I don't know how he has any eligibility left. He's not the only guy I've seen enter the portal who appears to have exhausted his eligibility. So I don't know. We'll see if these guys end up able to play any more college basketball anywhere, but apparently it's okay to enter the portal not knowing if you have any eligibility left to play.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Is it sort of just playing it safe, saying, hey, if there's a chance that I have a little more eligibility, I'm at least going to put myself in the portal and make myself available and perhaps get a little bit of NIL cheddar if it happens to work out. Do you think that's what that is?
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, who would have guessed that like somebody who played JUCO would file a lawsuit and get an extra year? So like, that happens. Maybe they're just figuring. Maybe their agents are like, hey, it can't hurt. So let's see. Somebody might file a lawsuit that you benefit from, and you end up being able to play. Who knows? But
so I have been keeping tabs, Shane, on the Sunbelt portal. Like I said, 78 players in there. 7 of those players are all Sunbelt players, right? Third team, second team, first team. Connorway is among them. Barry Dunning Jr. is among them. Freeman, if he really is a portal guy, he's among them. I mean, there are some pretty good guys that are in the portal. Guys that there are plenty of guys that were starters or were productive players for the Sunbelt. 78 seems like a lot of guys. I think once again and if you look at the Sunbelt first teams, first, second, and third team, most of those guys were seniors too. Most of them were on their way out anyway. So I think we're going to see yet again a totally different Sunbelt next season.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I wouldn't be totally shocked if we see some guys transfer within the Sunbelt, which we saw last year a little bit either. I mean, so we'll see, but it will look a lot different.
I did notice, Shane, speaking of that Jaden Bolden, I can never remember his first name, point guard out of the Warhawks. He put himself into the portal, and Texas State has already given him an offer. So there could be some Sunbelt on Sunbelt violence there.
Yeah, we've seen it plenty of times. Kobe Julian last year, Nate Martin, like it happens. So always fun to see guys bounce around.
Yeah. So have you been watching the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, and if you enjoyed it, because I've heard 2 camps. One, the games aren't very good, and 2, it's like maybe the first round wasn't very good, but then we've seen a lot of like overtimes and close games. So, what's your overall 30,000-foot view of the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I mean, it's been fine. I mean, there hasn't been. I don't know that there's anything that's happened in this tournament that we're going to be talking about 20 years from now. Maybe something in the Final Four. Maybe we'll have a buzzer beater for a national championship or something like that. But, but I don't think that happens every year. we remember Bryce Drew hitting his shot and things like that. Like, if they play over and over again, but that doesn't mean that happens every year. And yeah, it's been maybe a little bit of a letdown, but we'll see. I mean, I think, just keep the format as it is and we'll all be happy.
Did you expect Troy to perform a little bit better against Kentucky?
Not really.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was a great matchup for Troy. I mean, to pull off an NCAA upset, a lot of times it means you got to be a really good 3-point shooting team, which just really isn't Troy most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Or, Troy likes to go to the basket. They like to challenge you when you go to the basket. And then you're playing a Kentucky team that's going to be as good or more athletic than you around the rim. I just didn't think it was a great matchup for Troy. I mean, maybe a team like Wisconsin or something like that, or Purdue, maybe would have been a little bit better matchup for them than the athletic Kentucky team.
Yeah, that probably would have been a better matchup. Yeah, I was sad to see the Sun Belt get in and out so quick, but I think we're a little bit used to that. On the women's side, we saw Arkansas State lose by 69 points to Final Four bound Connecticut, which was pretty crazy to watch. Shane Medlin. I don't know if you saw any of that. Arkansas State scored the first 2 points, and it was pretty much, all right, let's stop the game. And then it was over. But you know what? It gives you, it gives you a good sense of what a good championship-worthy women's basketball team should look like. Like Arkansas State in the Sun Belt, they're fast. And they're really good at defense, and they're tenacious, and they can hit the three. And then Connecticut showed us what a team looks like that can really hit the three, that can really play fast, that can really play some defense. I think they had 9 block shots on Arkansas State in the first half. So, yeah, it was a good eye-opening experience, I think, for Destiny Rogers and the women that she coaches, as if to say, okay, this is what we're supposed to look like. This is how a team is supposed to be if we want to reach the next level of competition.
Yeah, I think there's still like a gap. I mean, there's more parity in women's basketball than there used to be. I mean, at least we don't have it narrowed down to 2 teams can win the national championship before the season starts. But
if your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
it's tough in women's basketball. The top 10, maybe top 15 teams are just way more athletic, way bigger. It's just, it's different. Like, as I talked about the men before, that there's so many good players. Like, a guy you've never heard of, Janai Broom doesn't come from out of nowhere on the women's side. Nobody like that just comes from out of nowhere on the women's side. Like,
that's true.
You got your stars and you know exactly who they are.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. So that's kind of our basketball wrap up. I guess we'll get is Coach K and Nick Saban still down there?
Yeah, we just probably need to talk a little of football and other sports first.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Before we bring them up, we should really get our business together about the Sun Belt, because these are really premium guests, and they were hard to get. I mean, I've been calling both these guys for a couple days now, and finally, their agents negotiate with me. If we put some money together, we put a little per diem for them. We got like an extra bag of Ruffles down there. I hope they're enjoying that. Well, that came out of the petty cash. That's why Tibbs isn't here.
I think Tibbs got some Topo Chico to make it, fancy.
Damn, I was saving that Topo Chico. That's my Topo Chico. I love that. All right, well, let's talk a little bit about football. Shane, you seem to be itching for football season. And I feel like I want to make that transition too. Yeah, I think we're introducing at Arkansas State the new head basketball coach on Friday. And then I think we can move on, at least at Arkansas State. But maybe in your neck of the woods, people have moved on?
Yeah, I think to some degree. It's I love spring games. I hope they don't go away completely, because I really like getting out there when the weather is nice. Most of the teams on campus will bring some recruits to, show them like the spring football game and stuff. And it's kind of like a party. You don't care who wins or loses. Nobody's going home disappointed. Like, I love spring football games. So I'm looking forward to that coming up.
When is the James Madison spring football game?
I want to say April 12th or 16th.
Oh, a little early. Okay.
Coming up.
Yeah. So Arkansas State has theirs a little later in the month. I want to say it's like the 26th. And I always go. I might not be able to go this year, but I almost always go. I stand out on the field. I get the old press pass. I pull rank. I got my camera out. I take pictures of guys I think are going to be crucial to the season. So I have that bank of photos for Hellraiser. I can use them myself. I don't have to beg for a photograph from the athletic department. I got my own. I kind of walk around, I evaluate. Oh, these guys look big. We look a little thin here. I never get it right, though. Like, there'll be a guy that will perform in spring, Metlin, that I'm like, this guy is going to be a star. And then I never see him take the field for the season. Like, and he's like bounced off the team.
And now it's like you're convinced he's going to be a guy, and then he hits the portal after a spring game, or you didn't get to see him because like he didn't get a lot of reps, and then he bounces. Like that happens too now.
So do you get to get on the field when you're at the spring game in James Madison, or do you like to sit in the stands with the people?
I will hit the field pregame usually, and then go to the press box to watch and chit chat and snack and all that good stuff.
Yeah, do you put the old microphone in Spradlin's face and get some quotes?
Like for a spring football game?
Yeah.
No, I talked to Spradlin off the record during the spring football game because that's good basketball. Basketball recruits and stuff. No, it's I like this for football season too. Just pregame football. I don't know if it's like this at Arkansas State, but usually there's just like a steady line of recruits from all sports trotted through there on the sidelines before the game starts, and
they got their parents with them. They're wearing the credential around.
You'll get an assistant coach like as they walk by. It's like, this guy legit. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. I need to get more of that info when I'm down there. I usually try to stay anonymous, whatever, but I do enjoy spring football. Shane, have you heard any rumblings from around the league, around the Sun Belt?
As far as just like football goes?
Yeah.
I mean, not a ton yet. I'm eager to see we're all probably like eager to see what Southern Miss looks like, bringing the conference champs over to another. We talked about this with basketball, with the Sun Belt on Sun Belt crime. I think that's the extreme example of it, right?
I have not noticed. Has Huff brought in a lot of Marshall guys?
I mean, I think there was a few, and just a huge turnover too from obviously when quarterback and coach from the championship team goes to another team in the same conference, I'm eager to see how that works out.
Yeah, I think that's going to be cool. I did think I saw where Southern Miss was bragging about having the highest rated transfer class in the Sun Belt. So it should be a transformed team. Anything could be better, right, than the last few years in Hattiesburg. They could really use some help. But does that mean that the very proud fan base of Marshall are they in for a bad year?
I don't know. I mean, have to kind of go over their roster and see how that goes. But I think there's some maybe rejuvenated excitement, even coming off a championship year. Obviously, there was all the questions about what was going to happen with Huff when you're in the middle of going for that championship, and the fact that he never signed like a contract extension despite success there, maybe rubbing some people the wrong way. I think they've got their West Virginia guy in now, that they're excited about. So even if it's a little bit of a down year as they turn the roster over, I think people are going to be excited about Marshall football and where it's going.
No, I hope so. And I hope that I hope we recognize it a little sooner. Maybe you recognized it earlier than I did, but it took me a while to recognize that Marshall was a good football team. And I'm sorry, Marshall fans, for that. I know you guys get really touchy. You guys want credit where credit's due. I didn't give it to you. I'm sure Shane knew right away that Marshall was going to win the Sun Belt East and then win the Sun Belt in general, right?
I know. I'll admit I didn't. And it was just like, it was kind of like you expected them to be near the top, but then, you thought maybe they'd lose one here or there, go on the road and lose somewhere, and just never did. And then all of a sudden they're at the top of the standings, and it's like, oh, well, this is real. This is real for the Herd.
Yeah. So when do we really start evaluating football? Is it in the spring after the spring games, or is it when the summer start or the summer practices start and fall's approaching?
Probably after the spring portal, honestly.
Oh God. Yeah. And when is that? Do you remember?
It opens up later in a couple weeks, I think. Open for maybe a couple more weeks. I don't know. It's hard. And I sometimes will write, get tabbed to write for one of those like preview magazine, like an Athlon or a Lindy's or something. And, they want it by, while spring football is still going on.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, okay, but I may mention guys who aren't on the team by the time you publish this magazine. That's happened before. So,
well, we talked to Phil Steele about that last year, where he's like, I've had to, collect stories and information and content later and later in the year because the portal has made it to where you simply cannot make a prediction after the spring game. You've got to be, you don't know what the roster is going to even look like. So.
And his workload is insane. I can't imagine anybody else like taking that on, but he does have the advantage of doing it himself. So like he can make adjustments to it and, try to push his deadline back as far as possible. Whereas like, somebody like Lindy's, they're hiring, 150 guys like me to write these articles about different teams. And,
Yeah. So how much bank you make on that? You're probably pulling down a lot of money, right?
A ton.
I want to ask what your contract looks like. I always wondered, the transfer portal has made it very difficult to manage a football roster. I've always wondered if that's what drove Nick Saban out of college basketball. He just seemed really cranky that last year. Seemed like he was, kind of done with the process. Still loved the kids. Still loved the X's and O's. I don't think he liked the process. But when we get him on, we should ask him about that. Don't you think?
We should. I mean, I think he's talked a little bit about it, but I think to get his perspective on what it means for the different teams and different levels would probably be very.
He's never had you and I ask him about it. Two crack seasoned journalists really getting down to the marrow of the matter, right? We'll talk about that later. We'll talk to him about that later. I'm thinking what we need to do, Shane, is get plugs, promos, and parting shots out of the way, and then get our guests on. Like, let's just do our show, and then, like, as a special treat, we have Coach K and Nick Saban on. What do you think that's what we should do?
That makes some sense.
Does that make sense? Okay.
And nobody's going to be like waiting around to hear what we have to say after.
And isn't it smart? I mean, like a journalist, right? When you write a story, you don't put the meat of the story on top, right? You put it down more in the middle, right? So people will read a little further, right?
Yeah. That's
a trick. So we're doing the trick. You've got to wait to the end to listen to Nick Saban and Coach K. Shane, parting shot. What was it? Plug or promo?
I'm going to take one out of your playbook.
Oh,
I guess a little like TV recommendation.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't know if you've watched it, heard of it, paid any attention, but the new Seth Rogen show on Apple TV Plus.
I've heard
the
of
studio where he's the head of a movie studio. First 2 episodes have been out. I think a new one comes out maybe tomorrow. Excellent show. Yeah. Great first 2 episodes. Really loving it. Definitely worth checking out if you have some time in the spring to invest in the TV show. Apple TV's hit rate is pretty good. I don't think they crank out a ton of content.
No, but
like Netflix, but like when they put something out, it's generally pretty.
It rarely misses. There was one show with Steve Carell where he's sort of a kidnapped therapist that I watched a few episodes and I kind of checked out. Other than that, everything else from Apple's been great. Shay, here's what worries me about the Seth Rogen show, and you can tell me if it's true or not. Like, critics love this show. They keep talking about how great it is. It's a satire. But let me tell you something about critics. Critics really love shows about show business. So I'm afraid you've checked out. Shane, are you okay?
I'm okay.
So what I'm afraid of is that the reason why the critics like it is because it's about them, about a topic that they enjoy so much. It sounds like you're relating to the show.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it takes that part of it too seriously, at least so far. So I think that's good. I mean, you're right. You know, there's a lot of stuff made about Hollywood, probably more than any other industry. When like who really cares? But I think this one's well done, and I think partially because like it's, you know, to some degree, like Seth Rogen's character, it's like a guy who loves movies, but now his job is to not make good movies, but to make like crap that makes money. He kind of hates himself for that.
Kind of like this podcast.
Yeah.
We're just dishing out crap. I mean, it's going to be a lot better when Saban and Coach K come on, but for the most part, it's just crap. All right, that was a good parting shot. I'm going to kind of keep with your theme, Shane. I finished Reacher, and it concluded with this thundering conclusion. Have you been watching the Reacher?
I haven't ever. I'll have to catch up on Reacher at some point.
If you want to grow a fourth testicle and a bushy crop of chest hair, you got to watch Reacher because it is about the manliest show you could possibly watch. And it did not disappoint in terms of just sheer violence and stupidity, Shane. You know, it's pretty much Reacher just terrorizing Maine with murder after murder after murder. I know he's killing bad guys, and that's kind of how it's all couched while they're bad guys. But there's no due process. There's no law. There's no Miranda rights. It's this Reacher just indiscriminately killing guys. He's like a psycho. And he's kind of presented as this sort of affable guy, a lover, not a fighter, although he's always punching people. But really at the core, Shane, he is a mass murderer. I don't know why Reacher isn't in prison. At the end of the show, it's like one of those things where there's bodies all over the place, Shane, and, you know, like just carnage. There's just this huge crime scene, and cops are walking around, and federal agents are walking around, and Reacher's just kind of hanging out, like, oh yeah, I had a role in this, but yeah, I guess you're not going to take me in for questioning or arrest me or anything. I'm just going to. He literally steals a motorcycle and drives off. No rules apply to this guy.
I will have to check this out. Like,
I want to be this guy. I can just do what I want. All right, Shane. I regret to inform you that we've run out of time, and my apologies to Nick Saban and Coach K. We just don't have enough time to have you on.
Yeah, it is getting a little long.
It's getting a little long. Yeah, I think I talked a little bit too much about Reacher.
Yeah,
and you talked a little bit about that.
Yeah. I overdid it with that.
Yeah. It's our fault. We weren't time managers.
Right.
Yeah.
Parting shot.
Yeah. Maybe we shouldn't have even had the plugs, promos, and parting shots. We probably just should have brought in Nick Saban and Coach K.
Yeah. That did push us over the 35-minute mark, where it's like probably just too much for one show. So,
Coach K, Coach Saban, I hope you'll forgive us. We'll have you back on some other time. Until then, he's Shane Metlin, and I'm Jeremy Harper. Tibbs, we hope that you emerge from the ether and rejoin us for the next show. We're signing off.